Welcome to No More Bullshit.
Hey, folks. So, I haven't done too many of these, but I'm waiting on a part for my backhoe, so I'm not working today. And I'm watching some clips. I don't really watch the news anymore or stuff like that, but I watch clips of stuff here and there. And I see the latest nonsense where Biden and them are. The Putin's price hike thing didn't work, although they're still trying to do that, but they're not using Putin's price hike because the name didn't catch on. So now they got a new one, Ultra Maga. And I'm going, okay, between that and saying that the MAGA crowd is the most extreme, most extremist group in American history, and then he corrects himself and says modern history. No and no, okay. This while the liberals are out camped in front of Supreme Court justices' houses. So when I saw the Ultra MAGA thing, I had to laugh because I'm like, it just illustrates they just don't get it. Obviously, number one, the deplorables thing and irredeemable from Hillary Clinton worked out really well for her. So now you're going to double down on that first by calling us the most extreme people uh, in modern history, and then you're going to triple down by now there's ultra MAGA. Okay, well, one thing you don't understand about MAGA people, okay, we're united, we're one. So if you think we're gonna like not wear the, I'm gonna already go out and look for a T-shirt that says Ultra MAGA. You know, so uh, you got Antifa, you got all these ultra Black Lives Matter, you got all these ultra left wing parties, you got uh, what's going on in the Middle East and has been for decades. And people who want their country back are the most extreme in modern history. Fuck you. And speaking of which, the 13th, thank God, is the 13th of this month is the last day for this. Sorry, ladies, but there's no other way to put it from me. That's the only thing I can think of whenever I see her speak. The flaming cunt. The current press secretary for the White House, the flaming cunt, is now done as of Friday, and we'll be going over and getting a big paycheck from MSNBC to spew the nonsense over there that she was making $100,000 for or whatever in the White House. She's always been a full of shit. She was full of shit when she worked in the Obama administration. Uh, One thing these people, and it's got nothing to do with her being a woman. That's another thing that they try to like, they act like they can't get it. And I honestly think they don't get it because they view everything through such a skewed lens that it's hard for them to get anything. And definitely hard to get anything that's not insane, um, or that's rational thought. Um, there are very few these days. There are very few, if not none, females that are liberals that speak that are likable people. They come off as bitchy, or the more extreme, like I call her, the flaming cunt. They come off like that. It's just what they come off as. Now, the men are no better on that side. They're whiny, sniveling little pussies. And to me, that's worse. They come off worse. But when it comes to like, well, it was, their answer to everything is, well, the reason that this person lost, this woman lost for her election bid was because it was anti-women. No, no, got nothing to do with it. What you don't understand is we don't give a fuck. I'm looking for the best person for the job. And some fucking radical left wing broad who comes across abrasive and and just bitchy about everything. No. Some radical left male that comes across like a pussy and bitchy about everything and screaming about how he's a feminist and about pronouns and about all this other crap. No. Now I've said this many times. I got no use for the left, but I got no use for the right either. The most of the right, for different reasons. Um, Now that may change because in Texas, in our primary, Trump backed 33 candidates. He won 33 of those races. 33-0 in Texas. Then last week, they had the primaries in Ohio and Indiana, and he backed another 22 candidates between the two states, and he was 22-0. So that's a lot of. Most of those were House seats. There was the one Senate candidate, J.D. Vance, I think his name is. I want to say he was Ohio. Um, Anything would be better than I think Rob Portman is the guy the seat he's going for, and Portman was one of those rhino fuckers, if you ask me. Um, I don't trust any of those cocksuckers that've been around for too long. So we need to get them out. Even if, regardless of what happens in 2024 as far as who runs on our side, which is whoever it is going to win unless they're a complete clusterfuck. Uh, and which brings me to my next point. I saw some comments a couple weeks ago from some old friends, and they were talking about if Trump runs in 2024 and talking about how he's unelectable. I don't know how close you guys watch this thing, but completely off the mark. Okay. Number one, he's got the base. Uh, and if he doesn't run, he's going to point to who's going to win. Um, that's number one. Number two, you take a state like Nevada. Okay, Trump. I haven't looked late the last couple of weeks, but they did a poll, and this was in a liberal. This was not a conservative poll. Trump was up by 10 points against Biden, and I think he was up by 12 points against Harris in Nevada, which is typically one of those right down to the wire things. And lately, it's been where at the wire the Democrats pull it out. There's even some rumblings in New Mexico, and they're not fucking around with some generic thing and saying, well, Republican against Biden or Republican against Harris. They're saying Donald Trump against Biden, Donald Trump against Harris. And here's why he is going to, if he decides to win, he is going to win. Or run, he is going to win. They did all this crap within the first 6 months for the most part, of Biden taking office. So, in less than a year, even though people in this country tend to have a short attention span, they know how good it was when Donald Trump left office. The day Donald Trump left office, I was paying $1.86 a gallon for gas. I'm now paying more than double that. I use diesel in my backhoe on my property. $5.08 a gallon the other day. Something like $77 and that'll last me about 2.5 days for doing the work on my property to clear it and so on. So now, granted, I was never going to vote for Biden, but there are a lot of not crazy Democrats out there and a lot of independents like me who are not going to vote for somebody reaching into their pocket because they and then acting like they don't know how to fix it. Motherfucker, I'll tell you how to fix it. Go back to everything you did about energy in like the first month and reverse it. And within a couple of months, you're going to see everything start to go down. Now, you reverse anything that had anything to do with this problem. The one thing they won't be able to reverse is this $2 trillion thing they did, which it didn't help by pumping that much more money into the system. But they were pumping money into the system when Trump was in office, and it wasn't raising inflation. The majority of these things can be linked back to a couple of things. One is the energy, which touches everything. There's not a fucking thing out there that doesn't get a premium added on top for how much it costs to deliver, and it's delivered by fucking diesel. Okay, whether it's on a fucking train or a fucking semi, and a semi is going to touch it even if it comes in on a train. You ever watch the trains go by? What's on it? Semi trailers. Okay, so semi trailers and containers that they slap wheels on that can be pulled by a semi. So that's going to hit everything, and that's going to bring all those prices down of everything. Now, I'm also reminded by what I've seen these days in the grocery stores and whatever else, and like the latest big thing is like they keep showing empty shelves where baby formula used to be, and I couldn't help but think back to watching a news report back when I was in high school, and it happened more than once, but they would do it periodically, and that was back when you had the actual Soviet Union, and the news would have like short clip of like long lines in Russia, in Moscow or someplace, to people standing in line like all day to get a roll of toilet paper or to get a loaf of bread. Okay, we're not that far away from that shit. I mean, Christ, everything I go to buy, I needed a dog pen for the dog. Right? She outgrew the little one I had for her. So Tractor Supply had the perfect one, wasn't too expensive, has a little roof on it and such. And they can't keep them in stock because we got so many people from the West Coast moving out here that have animals and such. And I live in an area where it's a small community and they're just not used to ordering things based on the population they currently have. That's only happened in the last couple of years. So until they get that squared away at these local places, and also there's not as many of those places to buy these things. So it's that, and it's demand to some extent for certain things that you can't get. And they throw everything about the supply chain, okay? The biggest supply chain issue we got that is driving prices up and like has a lot to do with the car stuff, although I really think they're just sitting on cars because they're getting so much for each unit right now that's ridiculous that people are actually even, how they get financed. You get an average guy going for, I looked at trucks, just pickup trucks, okay? Like say a 3/4 ton to a ton like pickup truck. $75,000 for a fucking pickup. My first house cost $35,000. This house that I'm sitting in right now granted it needs a lot of work, but I just bought this for $35,000 with a half acre of land. So the chip shortage hits a lot of different things in it because everything's got chips in it. So like, but here's why I say that they're peddling a bunch of bullshit. Because okay, there's no more chips in any vehicle than in a Tesla. And Tesla's having no problems putting their cars out. They just had something like 68% growth this year over last year, same time. They sold more cars this year than ever before. And everything about that car is electronic. So don't give me this bullshit. Uh, there's people playing games. Also, just saw a clip of about General Motors and this stupid bitch that got running General Motors these days. The whole thing was on her. I didn't really have much to say about her because they didn't let her talk, so I really don't know what she actually said herself or how she said it or whatever. But I know taking the company all the way down the electric vehicle path is ridiculous. That's going to fail. But I don't think they'll ever get there because I think they got other problems. One of two things is true. Okay, they sold in the first quarter of this year. They sold 500 and some thousand vehicles, which is low. Um, but they had 273,000 vehicles in inventory. That's half of what they. That's half of what they sold in the whole quarter. Yet they're telling you that the reason vehicle prices are so high is because they can't supply them. Well, you only sold 570,000, and there's yet half that number in inventory that waiting to be sold, which means you have a 45-day supply. You know how many days worth of supply that Tesla has currently? 3 days. Okay, so it's a bunch of bullshit. Somebody here somewhere is playing games. Um, I mean, I don't know. I haven't done one of these in quite a while, and there's so many things I could talk about, but most of them are obvious, like the fact that Joe Biden, his brain is out to lunch and has been worse than it's getting worse every day. I mean, it was obvious during the election cycle in 2020, but you know, I'll tell you what I will talk about with Biden is that way back in the beginning when people were talking about, well, they just want to get him in there so they can take him out so they can put in Kamala. Well, then she ends up being a clusterfuck, so then they don't know what to do. Well, now the Democrats know they're going to lose their ass and lose both houses of Congress in November. So all of a sudden, now I always said it was either going to be the 25th Amendment or the Hunter Biden thing they would use to take Biden out. And uh, they're using both, and I'll tell you why. Um, Obviously, we've all seen all of a sudden the left wing press has discovered the Hunter Biden story. Well, why is that? Everybody's going, well, they finally decided to do journalism. I don't think so. They're all doing it at the same time, just like they do everything else all at the same time. So there's a reason and somebody pulling the strings behind it. They've decided they need to get Biden out. And why do they need to get him out now? They need to get him out now so that by uh, like sometime this summer, it has to be sometime this summer because then Kamala would be sworn in as president. They already know she can't win. What they're counting on, in my opinion, this is just my opinion and a guess, I'm speculating, she then has to appoint a vice president. And that vice president has to get approved by a simple majority of the House plus a simple majority of the Senate. It's a different animal in terms of it always has been since the 25th Amendment was put in place. So they need to get that done before Republicans control Congress because then Republicans can pick who's going to be the vice president and they can reject the ones there if they're too radical. So that's why now, in my opinion. I will say this. That was something I was right about. Now, something I was wrong about is, there was all the speculation with the Supreme Court nominees of Donald Trump that, they'll overturn Roe v. Wade. And I was like, no, they won't. It's been around ever since. I don't remember when Roe v. Wade wasn't the law. Uh, I mean, it was when I was a little kid that wouldn't have understood what it was at the time anyway. But anybody my age and a little bit younger doesn't really remember when Roe versus Wade wasn't the law. So I figured there's no way. And based on this leak, it looks like I was wrong. So now, does that mean that uh, abortions are going to go away? No. Someplace like Mississippi, yeah. Someplace like Texas, probably. Um, Other places in the South, probably. Um, California, no. Uh, New York, no. Connecticut, no. Massachusetts, no. And so on and so on. So what's going to happen is sooner or later, those states are going to start getting on board with this because they're going to realize that they're going to put in special taxes. Watch. They'll put in special abortion taxes because people are going to start going to these other states from out of state to get their abortions. And they'll realize that they're going to make a shitload of money because they're going to get all of Mississippi's abortions, all of Texas's abortions, and so on and so on and so on. So they'll catch up sooner or later, and then that's what they'll go with. I'm a firm believer of that. So just wanted to show you my new hat since it's obscured by the light. And over on the side, you've got the. I never was a fan of the Keep America Great tag, and I notice he doesn't use it anymore, really. But now it's Save America. So, and he's always going to keep MAGA anyway. Uh, but I'm going to go look for my Ultra MAGA shirt. Till next time.